Boston Bruins have made multiple very surprising moves ahead of tonight's game against the Colorado Avalanche, including a few different line moves, which causing quite a stir among Bruins fans, as well as some updates regarding some lineup changes, completely taking out some players from this lineup. We also do have a injury update regarding Elias Lindholm ahead of tonight's game, as he is set to return very, very soon. Before we do jump into this video, though, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you one favor, and that's if you haven't already, be sure to hit the sub button, join me here on the channel. We're getting daily Bruins videos out every single day. Of course, that's what daily means for you guys here regarding the lineup, everything going on, as we're in a very good spot with this Bruins team at this very moment, and you're going to stay up to date with everything that comes out over the coming days, as we have a very tough rest of the month, but Marco Sturm is doing his job, and make sure to hit that sub button if you're looking for your Bruins news. But let's get straight into this. And I wanted to first touch on a few different things that have been made by this roster. Coming out from Bell Fraser from the Boston Bruins, of course. Some new line changes for the Bruins at practice. Now, let me know in the comments below what you think about these when I read them out. And also, kind of put my explanation out there, because it kind of makes sense for some, but others don't really make any sense at all. So the first one, and very obvious one to start, is Pavel Zacha and Morgan Geekie have switched. So Pavel Zacha is now on the first line. Morgan Geekie is on the second line pair with Mittelstadt. And Mikey Eyssimont has jumped up to the second line over Victor Arvidsson, who dropped down to the third. Apart from that, the third line remains the same. The fourth line sees John Beecher come in to make his season debut for tonight's game over Marat Huznadinov, and a very interesting move there as well. The defense, the only move there is Elias Lindholm coming back in alongside Jordan Harris and matching up with Andrew Peeke during practice today. So a few moves on the offense have really kind of changed this team around and caused quite the stir, like I said, among Bruins fans. Now, for Pavel Zacha and Morgan Geekie, both of these guys have been playing very, very good this season. Both are pretty much point per game or just 1 point under point per game. And it seems like we're getting Marco Sturm just looking at a bit of a different kind of look ahead against the Colorado Avalanche tonight, where we do also play them in a week's time from today once again. So it does seem like Marco Sturm is trying to mix things up a bit after 2 straight losses, 2 very tough games, albeit. But having another look, it just gives him more options to kind of change up the lines as the games go by. So this is a good opportunity to do it. 2 losses in a row, even though these guys are playing good. Change things up, see how it works. Now, going over to the power play as well, we have some looks at that. McAvoy, Geekie, Elias Lindholm, Pavel Zacha, and David Pastrnak, Elias Lindholm, Mason Lohrei, Casey Mittelstadt, Victor Arvidsson, and Mikey Eyssimont. The thing I wanted to point out here is the fact that Elias Lindholm is practicing on the power play too. So, although we do have him as a game-time decision tonight, it does seem like he will be in this lineup ahead of tonight's game. And of course, being a game-time decision, still no point in rushing him. You have Jordan Harris there, who has been playing very good. And coming into this lineup right now, having Elias Lindholm here would get a better chance for the Bruins to come out here, pot some more on the Colorado Avalanche, but you want to make sure he's fully healthy before he does, and, not change anything like we've seen this Bruins team do the past 2 seasons on the injury side of things for anybody, and making sure they're healthy before they do come back into this lineup. Now, like I said, Elias Lindholm is a game-time decision according to Marco Sturm from Bell Fraser, so that is one thing to keep an eye on tonight. So either way, regardless of what happens, the lines that we have with Harris and Peeke or Lindholm and Peeke, they seem good to go, ready to go, and assuming that power play lineup will change if we do not see Elias Lindholm in. Now, going over one more line that changed that we did see, and the one between Mikey Eyssimont and Victor Arvidsson, and then ultimately putting John Beecher down there for Marat Huznadinov, you're seeing kind of the idea of this be one notable change and one notable thing, but among Bruins fans. And Bruins Network did put this out on Twitter and kind of put the idea in our mind. And let me know what you think about this, because this is a very good point that they did point out here. Make sure to go check them out on Twitter as well and go and see what they do have there. But in less than 10 games in the season, Eyssimont is promoted to second right wing, despite looking out of place on the third line. Meanwhile, Huznadinov, quicker, younger, more skilled, passing the eye test, is on the bench for the second straight game. Shouldn't our focus be on the younger players? And especially with Marco Sturm being that style of coach, I completely agree with what they have right here. Now, I don't mind this for one game. See how it works, see what changes are made. I like that Marco Sturm is not kind of sticking to one thing. He's sticking to it when it works, but if something may have a bad game, 1 game or 2 games in a row, change things up, see how they work. I don't mind that, but when it does come down to it, I want to see Hootsie in this lineup. He is a phenomenal player. although limited games in the NHL, he still is a guy that his level, his speed, everything that we've seen from him over in Europe, he has looked great. And I mean, bringing that to the NHL is just going to require some time. So putting him on a line with some talent, and I mean, if you have him on a line, let's just say Morgan Geekie, Casey Middlestad, and Murat Kuznetsov, I love the look of that. And having Geekie and Zacha interchangeable, I think that's fine. Zacha, I think, playing a little bit better than Morgan Geekie as of late, so why not try it there? We saw that last season for the start of the season, that exact line in Pavel Zacha, Elias Lindholm, and David Pastrnak. I'm curious to see how it is now, this team playing much better than what they did to start off last season. Now, going into Mikey Eyssimont, I do apologize, this is very small. But the main thing I wanted to point out here was really his point total. And 25 points in 81 games is his career high. You can pause and zoom in on this. If you're on mobile, just pinch and go in, or you can go in Hockey DB, whatever you want to do. But having a look at Mikey Eysimont's career, he's not known to get points. And that's one thing that I think is the big kind of idea of concern here for this Bruins team, is that you go out and see what he's done. And I mean, when you're looking at the point total for last season as well, I guess between the Kraken and the Lightning, he did have 26. But going into what he's doing right now, on the second line, he hasn't necessarily done that before. So what is making you think that right now he can come out here and show a level of offense he hasn't before? Now, albeit 3 points in 5 games this year, pretty good for Mikey Eyssimont. But when you have some younger guys, some quicker guys, and Mikey Eyssimont on that third line, having him there with Fraser Minten and Tanner Jeannot, Mikey Eyssimont there, I love that line. That third line, 2 physical guys, one guy who's an animal, Mikey Eyssimont, who don't mind getting in there, Fraser Minten, who's also learning off these guys and starting to do the exact same thing with a higher level of offense. I like that a lot, but I like to see Mikey Eyssimont there for a game or two, see how that works out, and if that doesn't happen to what they think they're going to do or what Marco Sturm thinks that line is going to be like, send him back down to the third line. I think it's totally fine. So I'm not opposed to this here for this little test, and especially how things are going, and compared to what Kuznetsov has done in his career, he's also in the boat where he hasn't had too much time, in the NHL yet, but also not too many points to bring along with it. So let's see how it works. Why not try Kuznetsov there one game, maybe move him over to the wing, play him center, whatever you want to do. I think there's lots of options to mix things around. So although I do, I completely agree with what Bruins Network is saying here, I think that right now we can try it out for a few games, but I do want to see the focus on these younger guys be a very important part of this team for the remainder of the season, and as it has been so far from what we've seen from Marco Sturm. Now, with a few more updates, like I said, this one coming out, Elias Lindholm is a game-time decision, so the defense looking the same ahead of tonight's game. But going into this as well, we do have one more thing, giving us more reason as to why all of these decisions are going to be made and why the lineups are mixed up at this very point in time. And against the Colorado Avalanche tonight, their offense has been good. They're a very, very solid team. We saw Marco Sturm come out and say that they're an absolute wagon of a team. You're going up against Utah tomorrow. I think it's fair to say that you might change the lineup once again back to what it was for Sunday's game. Try and change things up, and if it works tonight, you keep it. But it's giving you a good look ahead for when you're playing Florida, and then you're going against some other good teams, Colorado again. The Senators are looking pretty good right now as well, so you're getting a few tough games coming up, and I think that having these ability to take a look here after 2 losses to make sure you're not going too down in a pretty bad stretch, I think is a smart thing from Marco Sturm. But I trust him. I like what he's doing, and what we've seen so far from the Bruins has been very, very good. So having a few changes here, I don't mind it whatsoever. But let me know what you think about these few changes that we have here ahead of tonight's game against the Colorado Avalanche. But that is all I have here in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.